And now it's my honor to introduce the names of these First Special Service Force veterans. On your left, Bill Story, Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, 4th Company, 2nd Regiment. Alan Blackwell, Burns Lake, British Columbia, 3rd Company, 2nd Regiment. Henry Planger on the stage, 3rd Company, 3rd Regiment, Pincer Creek, Alberta. Fred Conrad, 3rd Company, 1st Regiment, Pomano Beach, Florida. Del Stonehouse, 5th Company, 2nd Regiment, Lake Havasu City, Arizona. Herman Kassoff, 3rd Company, 2nd Regiment, Farmington Hills, Michigan. Eugene Gutierrez on the stage, Service Company, McAllen, Texas. Bernard Cooper, 2nd Company, 1st Regiment, Calgary, Alberta. Gordon Sims, Headquarter Company, Columbia, South Carolina. Gentlemen, welcome. We're here today to witness the passage of a piece of U.S. and Canadian history by bringing home the First Special Service Force Congressional Gold Medal to Fort Harrison, where this incredible story began. Step back 73 years to 1942, when the world was at war. Conventional warfare was big armies fighting big armies. In 1939, when Germany invaded Poland, the German army consisted of 250 divisions, 2.5 million soldiers in the German army. And yet a concept was born of unconventional warfare, of a unit made up of highly trained, highly conditioned men operating in small units, infiltrating behind enemy lines. These men trained in all aspects of warfare, including parachuting, mountain climbing, night warfare, winter warfare, weapons training on both US and German weapons, hand-to-hand combat, navigation. They were prepared to survive. And the location was Fort Harrison, Montana, a small and isolated post in the foothills of the Rockies near Helena, Montana. We now stand on the very ground that these men walked 73 years ago. We are here today to complete the circle and bring the Congressional Gold Medal home to Fort Harrison.
Ladies and gentlemen, and most of all, proud members of the First Special Service Force, it's a great honor to be with you here this morning and to say to these wonderful men, on behalf of all 28,000 of us here in Helena, Montana, thank you for your service and welcome home. I would especially like to thank your family members who are here with you today, your wives, sons and daughters, nieces and nephews, grandsons and granddaughters who have supported and nurtured you in your golden years. They came with you and helped you arrive here today. And they are actively keeping the legacy of the First Special Service Force alive and well in the hearts of your countrymen and women in both nations. Well, every reunion of this organization is special, but this reunion, your 69th, is extra special. This time you have literally, figuratively, and truly brought home the gold. The Congressional Medal of Honor is the most prestigious award the United States Congress can bestow upon any individual or any organization. It's a great tribute to the First Special Service Force, and it's richly deserved. We call Helena the home of the force, and of all the things we have to be proud of in this fine community, our long and deep association with you makes us the proudest. I've watched and read and thought a lot about President Ronald Reagan's speech to the Army Rangers at Normandy in 1984, commemorating the 40th anniversary of the D-Day landings. It was one of his finest speeches, in my opinion. And I don't think President Reagan would mind terribly if I borrow and paraphrase a few of his remarks from that speech and share them with you today. And I'd say, These are the boys of Fort William Henry Harrison. These are the men who stormed the beach at Anzio, scaled the cliffs of Mount La Defensa, broke through the winter line, and fought their way up the Italian peninsula. These are the heroes who led the Allied forces into Rome and helped to liberate a continent. On behalf of a grateful city, I once again thank you for your service, and I once again say with great pride, welcome home.
So in 1942, 1,800 men left Helena, Montana to fight the fight. What they didn't know when they left is they established a legacy here and a legacy in the future that I can proudly say that's part of the U.S. Army Special Forces. Because of you men and what you did here during your training, the tough physical standards, the beat downs, just pushing yourself to the limits, set the stage for what Army Special Forces is today. The world has changed significantly since you guys wore the uniform, but we want to instill the passion, the heart, and the fighting spirit that you men had in our Special Forces soldiers forever. With that, I just want to convey that your legacy will always continue. You set a high standard for us, and we'll always strive to achieve it. Don't know if we can get there, but you set the bar high. And we just want to honor you with what you did for us as a Special Forces command and what you did for our country. Thank you, gentlemen.
Earlier this year, I was honored to be present for the award presentation in Washington, D.C., and to meet more of the forcemen and their wonderful families. At the annual ball of my regiment, the Canadian Special Operations Regiment, Sergeant Charlie Mann, a first Special Service Force member, bestowed on my regiment the same medallion is going to be received today. As my regiment, we are honored with being the custodians of the legacy of your force and your spirit on the Canadian side of the border. The award is very unique in its design, that's for sure. But it's yet another symbol of our historic connection as Canadians and Americans, and even a stronger connection between our military, and yet a solid connection amongst our special forces, which continues to be forged on operations today. Thank you very much.
I now want to just take a minute to back up a little bit and tell the story. Some of you heard it, some of you have not, of why we're here and how we got here. In 2011, Congressman Ryan Zinke and almost simultaneously then Montana Senator Max Baucus introduced bills. Senator Zinke introduced a bill in the Montana legislature and recognized Joe Glass and Mark Radcliffe, as you saw in the video. Senator Max Baucus wanted to recognize the force in Washington, D.C., and he evolved that into a nomination of the Congressional Gold Medal. 156 medals have been given in the history of the United States. It took us 2 years to tell the story. When we started calling congressmen, everybody said, well, who are they and where are they from? And so we quickly shifted from lobbying to educating. And once they heard the story, in April, May of 2013, we had enough votes in both the House and the Senate. We had to have 2/3 of the House and 2/3 of the Senate signed on as co-sponsors, which in today's political environment is not even next to impossible. But we accomplished it, and it was accomplished on the story and the history of these men. The date was set for February 3rd, 2015 for the presentation. Prior to that, the 1st Special Service Force, the Pipes and Drums of the Black Devils, along with several other members and some veterans, went over to Italy to commemorate the 70th anniversary of the liberation of Rome. 1st Special Service Force is recognized as the first unit to enter Rome on June 4th, 1944. That gets lost in history because 2 days later, the Normandy landings. But when we started working on the ceremony in Washington, D.C., this gentleman standing to my right, Les Owen, who went over with the band and with the members, who just retired from the U.S. Army Band, called me up and said, does the 1st Special Service Force have a march? I said, I don't know. And so we did a little research and we couldn't find one. So he talked to a couple of his brothers in the U.S. Army Band, and they wrote a song called the March of the Fredericks Black Devils. So when we started heading out to Washington, Les called me and said, well, can we get them in? Can we get the families? Can we get them over to Fort Myer to listen to this song, to this march? And as we tried to work logistics and trying to get everybody on buses and get them over to the Capitol for the ceremony, it just wasn't going to work. So Les talked to his commander, Colonel Holton, who happens to be from Helena, Montana. Yeah, there's more to it than just us. Somebody else up there is watching over us. Colonel Holton said, well, if they can't come to us, why don't we take the song to them? So the whole U.S. Army Band came over to the hotel and played what you're going to see just prior to us departing for the Capitol and the awarding of the medal. So here's what happened, and here is the March of the Fredericks Black Devils.
But then they were really busy in the Italian campaign and did all sorts of amazing things, and are very proud of the fact that they kind of led the way towards today's special forces that we all know and have come to love. So they are here to receive a Congressional Gold Medal on Tuesday. And Les Owen has been doing some documentary work. They returned to some of their original sites. There are some still left. One is 107 years old. And a lot of family members are continuing to keep their memories alive. So the intent is to go over to the Sheraton where they're staying Tuesday morning and share a few words about our pleasure in their service, part of the Greatest Generation. Show a little bit of a snippet of the documentary that Les is putting together. Play the anthems, Canada and U.S., and then end with the playing of this march that Paul Murtha wrote for them. They're really excited. So, let's listen.
now it's official. We have a march for the 1st Special Service Force. It is now my honor to invite to the podium Major General Matthew Quinn, 1st Special Service Force veteran Eugene Gutierrez, 1st Special Service Force veteran Hank Planger, to present the Congressional Gold Medal to Fort Harrison.
It is a tremendous honor to receive this medal on behalf of the men and women of the Montana National Guard and all those who have ever served over the course of history at Fort Harrison. Bringing the Congressional Gold Medal back to Fort Harrison in honor of the 1st Special Service Force completes a story that started here in 1942 and now has come full circle. The medal itself is an enduring testament to the bravery and fortitude of the men seated before us today and a lasting tribute to those who are no longer with us. Our Special Forces community would not be what it is today without the heroic actions of the 1st Special Service Force. So thank you on behalf of all of the men and women that serve on Fort Harrison, and know that this medal will forever be displayed with great pride and will be a lasting part of the heritage at Fort Harrison.
General, it's a great moment in our lives to be present with such great people that we have here. It's an honor to be in the midst of our men who have followed the manual of the 1st Special Service Force. And I'd like to salute my brothers of the present-day Special Forces for having done such a great accomplishment since you were activated years back. It's an honor also to present this medal to the General on behalf of the members of the 1st Special Service Force to the U.S. Special Forces Command.
But I want to take this opportunity to recognize an outstanding member of the 1st Special Service Force community. So Bill, if you would join me up on stage, General Ireland, on behalf of the men and women of the Montana National Guard, I would like to present you with this Patriot Award in honor of your service and dedication to the legacy of the Devil's Brigade. Jeff?
Department of Military Affairs, State of Montana, Office of the Adjutant General. This is to certify that the Adjutant General of the State of Montana has awarded the Adjutant General's Distinguished Patriot Medal to Mr. Bill Woon for exceptional and long-standing support to the 1st Special Services Force Association. Mr. Woon's significant contributions have helped to preserve the heritage and history of the 1st Special Service Force. His passion and commitment to honor the legacy of this elite U.S. and Canadian-led commando unit have raised national awareness and appreciation of the many accomplishments and remarkable accomplishments of the Devil's Brigade. Mr. Woon's distinguished and honorable service reflect great credit upon himself, the 1st Special Service Force, the state of Montana, and the nation, given under my hand in the city of Helena this 21st day of August 2015, signed Major General Matthew T. Quinn, the Adjutant General.
You know, they wrote the story. I got the privilege of telling it, but they wrote the history. It's been an honor to be part of it. Thank you. I also want to introduce another group that is with us today. They're sitting behind them, but they've always stood beside them. The wives and widows of the force, ladies. spent their life keeping the lights going in the house while the men are off to war, and that continues today. And we continue to support not only our soldiers, but those families and spouses who welcome them home and help them come home. So to all of you out there, thank you.